My part 3 notes are almost complete. And then I can bug Toby some more. Oh, but it's getting late. Off to bed, I suppose.
Are you ready?
Oh hey, it's my dreamscape. Where I sleep think. How convenient. There's even a camera over there this time. Neat. Oh hey, and it's Arizo. What are you doing here, Arizo?
I have no idea. This is your dream, though I guess I'm here to help you think about some new stuff.
New stuff? Like what?
Well, Team Skull seems pretty interesting. Maybe they'll fit into your reset theory.
Oh, it's like you're reading my mind.
Well, that's because I'm in your mind.
Right.
So, does Team Skull hold any significance in alchemy?
Oh yes, caput mortuum.
You're gonna have to use English with me.
The alchemical skull. It literally fits into everything really snugly.
Good. Now talk my ear off about it.
Will do! So, Team Skull. They are the new bad guys for Sun and Moon, and with a name like Skull and in a place like the Alola region, what do you think is the popular assumption about their role in the game?
I'm sure many people assume they'll be just simple pirates. They are into capturing rare Pokemon and selling them for money, or even just straight up stealing money. Perhaps they could also be poachers. Alola is full of Pokemon found only there, what with all the Alola forms and all, and a lot of money can be made by harvesting them and selling their goods on the black market. But that would be too simple. I mean, that's similar to what Team Rocket does, but ever since Team Rocket was no longer the main evil organization, every other evil team has been after something catastrophic. Team Magma and Aqua wanted to dry out or flood the Earth, or even revert it to its original form, devoid of life, to start anew. Team Galactic wanted to reset the entire universe in their vision, and nearly achieved it. And of Team Plasma wanted to reset the world in a way that separates humans from Pokemon to separate worlds. And Getsus of Team Plasma wants to cast the world into a second Ice Age and take everyone's Pokemon, so that he has ultimate power over all and can install his new world order. And Team Flare wants to purify the Earth to make it beautiful again by activating an alchemic super weapon and wiping it clean of life. And now Team Skull are just pirates? Yeah, I don't buy it.
Rightly so, and now, if you've seen part 1 and 2 of this series, playlist in the description, then you would know that there is so much astrological and alchemical symbolism in Pokemon, and leading up to Sun and Moon, it's getting heavier and heavier. In fact, it all points to Generation 7 possibly being the final generation of Pokemon before some major change, possibly a reboot. So no, I doubt Team Skull are only after riches, though they may use that as a front. Also possibly revenge against Kukui and the trial captains. It may be a front, and they may steal and poach Pokemon in order to fund their research. But that is not their ultimate goal. No, they want to wait for the planets to align, wait for an eclipse, and conjoin the world of the living and the world of the dead.
Whoa there, that is quite the hefty claim. You're gonna have to explain this one to me with some evidence.
Will do. So, firstly, I should remind you that before Sun and Moon was known as Sun and Moon, it was Project Pokémon Rainbow, which is very fitting. And in Hawaiian, Greek, and Norse mythology, the three main mythologies of Pokémon as of late, the rainbow represents a connection between mortals and gods, the Azoth, and in Hawaii, every island is given a symbolic color, plus a rainbow has 7 colors, and this is Gen 7. That Norse rainbow bridge also surrounds the Tree of Life, which happens to be the ultimate goal of alchemy, gain power over Azoth and the Tree of Life using a Philosopher's Stone. And so, as I said before, Pokemon Rainbow could be switched into Pokemon spiritually linking gods and men. That just doesn't roll off the tongue as well. Anyway, before we delve into the alchemic skull and the language of flowers regarding Team Skull, let's dig into the origins of Team Skull. Firstly, just by looking at them, you can kind of tell that they are foreigners. They don't have the same skin color or face structure as the rest of the locals. Remember, even the playable characters in this game are foreigners. as are a few of the trial captains. And this properly reflects Hawaii, as a significant portion of its population are non-native. In fact, a lot of natives are actually moving out because it's getting too expensive to live there.
So where are they from then?
Well, let me explain my thought process. Upon their reveal trailer, I immediately got a gangsta vibe from them. I should specify, not gangster, like Team Rocket, but gangsta. And I'm sure you get that vibe too. But what type of gangsta? Well, firstly, this squatting thing is what a lot of Japanese gangstas do, but also Russian gangstas. In fact, while those two are the most common gangsters to do that, many all over the world do it. But because this is such a prominent thing in Japanese gangstas, likely this was just to further show off the gangsta origins of these characters to the Japanese market. But other than the squatting, upon watching them with all of these hand gestures and everything, I immediately got a Southern Californian Hispanic gangsta vibe, as well as a sort of Fast and the Furious vibe. And let me tell you, as a Californian, these guys fit perfectly.
Also, as a Californian myself, I can agree. And that makes a lot of sense also. Hawaii is right between Japan and California. And all of these hand gestures are definitely what more American gangstas are known for. Plus, their skin isn't as dark as the Hawaiians, but not as white as the white or Asian characters in the game either.
Yep, and in animation and artwork, that's typically how you portray a Hispanic or a Latino person. And after coming to that conclusion, I of course started researching the name origins of Guzma and Plumeria, both of which are the names of flowers, of course. And even more, of course, Guzmania and the Plumeria flowers are both native to Mexico and Central America. And Guzman is a Spanish surname on top of that, further cementing the whole Southern California Hispanic gangsta vibe.
Quick question, the language of flowers was a huge part of your Part 2 Reset Theory videos, so what do these flowers symbolize? Start with Plumeria.
The Plumeria flower to most of the world symbolizes new life, creation, birth, and motherhood, motherly love. And judging by the lines spoken by Plumeria, she seems to be taking a motherly role with the rest of her team, though she specifies big sister instead. But what does get interesting is the specifics. To the Buddhists, the Plumeria symbolizes immortality. To Mayans and Mexicans, it symbolizes the birth of gods, specifically, and to the Hindu, it means dedication and devotion, especially to your family.
And of course, to her, Team Skull is her family. Now how about Guzma?
Guzma gets his name from Guzman, and interestingly, that's actually his name in the Spanish translation of Pokemon. Guzman was the Spanish surname of the naturalist that the Guzmania plants are named after. The Guzmanian genus has over 120 flowers within it, but they all have a few things in common. First though, what they symbolize. Interestingly, this is one of the very few genuses of plants not included in any sort of language of flowers. But despite this, the Chinese do have a bit of symbolism involving one of them, the Guzmania lingualata. It symbolizes good luck, specifically, an arrival of good fortune, as well as confidence.
Well, Guzma sure seems confident, but otherwise there's not much to go on here.
No, so I was thinking, every other character named after a flower has that flower name for some sort of deep symbolic reason. Why would Guzma be the only one without this? So I thought, perhaps it's not a symbolic reason this time. Maybe this time, I should research the science of this genus of plants. And then boom! Haha!
What?
The Scarlet Star is the most populous and popular Guzmania plant, and it is somewhat famous for its unique method of reproduction. Basically, this plant has its flower bloom only once in its entire lifetime. After it blooms, it dies. But deep within its tightly packed petals are pups. While the plant is alive, they cannot get out, but as the flower shrivels up and begins to decompose after it dies, then the pups get out and start their own lives. Meaning, this flower can only create new life by dying. It's death
And rebirth. That's crazy. Anything else?
One more little bit. The whole Guzmania family is also known for housing little ecosystems within its cup-like leaves. Mainly algae, but they can also be home to many poison dart frogs and spiders, and he does have an Ariados, probably more than that even. But anyway, each Guzmania is the center of many ecosystems. These could be seen as kind of like its family. And with Guzma and Plumeria referring to their grunts as brothers and sisters, it seems like this gang is structured more like a family rather than the almost Nazi-like Team Flare and Plasma or gangster-like Rocket and such. They are much closer, with the Guzmania at the center. And this is also very reminiscent of many Hispanic gangs in Southern California.
Sometimes intuition can be powerful. Now then, you mentioned that there is this thing called the Caput Mortuum, or the alchemical skull. So what does that symbolize?
Well, death, of course. Skulls symbolize death globally, but not necessarily death as in the end, but death as in the end of an era. The end of your life is just the beginning of the afterlife. Throughout history and in many cultures, that is what skulls meant. But in alchemy specifically, the alchemical skull, caput mortuum, signified a useless, rejected substance left over from a chemical operation, a transmutation, and it is the epitome of decline and decay. Alchemists represented this residue with a stylized human skull, a literal death's head.
Now that you mention it, the leader of Team Skull, Guzma, did describe his team as a group of rejects.
Yes, and this useless, dead, leftover substance just happens to be completely devoid of color. Negrito or negretto is another word used for caput mortuum. And of course, both symbolize the pure blackness, a lack of light, a lack of color, the polar opposite of a rainbow, death.
And Team Skull's battle transitions looks like it's painting the screen black.
And bonus fact, creating Negretto is the very first step in creating a Philosopher's Stone, as all of the elements used must be purified, burnt, and destroyed to their very base, blackest forms, specifically the three elements that the starters symbolize even, sulfur, salt, and mercury. And of course, with the Philosopher's Stone, one has the power of the Azoth, the power over the Tree of Life. With this power, one could easily resurrect the dead, just as Az or AZ did with his precious Floette. So we know resurrection is a thing in Pokemon. And since the weapon AZ used to do this is an alchemical weapon, surely Team Skull wants to do the same. But on a massive scale, a scale only possible when there just so happens to be an eclipse. In many mythologies, from various Polynesian to various Mesoamerican and more, an eclipse symbolized a time when the gates of the underworld, or the gates of the spirit world, land of the dead, would open. It makes sense too, since often the sun in mythology symbolizes life, and in actuality the sun indeed gives us life. So when it gets blocked by the moon, which in many mythologies is a centerpiece to an underworld or spirit realm, the ghosts and spirits of the dead may take hold. Another bit that's really interesting is that in the vast majority of mythologies and superstitions, most eclipse lore is based around upsetting the established order, signaling great changes ahead. Great changes? Perhaps some drastic changes to the Pokemon franchise? A reboot to the Nintendo NX perhaps,
Come to think of it, if the NX rumors about it being a handheld console hybrid are true, then the next Pokemon games would be on the NX.
But of course, the most prominent moment of life and death and eclipses for alchemists was the crucifixion of Jesus. I'll talk a lot more about Bible symbolism in part 3, but just know that Gnostic Christians form the bulk of alchemists, and made their alchemy with the Bible's teachings in mind. So according to the Bible, just as Jesus died, he cried out, "It is finished, Father. Into your hands I commend my spirit." And then the sun went black, caused by a miracle eclipse. And of course, later Jesus was resurrected. This is likely where a lot of eclipse symbolism in alchemy comes from, what with eclipses meaning death and rebirth and all. But now, here's something really interesting. The place that Jesus was crucified was a hill just outside of Jerusalem. A hill with a particular name, Golgotha, which translates to the place of the skull.
Oh, Arceus.
But now, stepping away from religion and back into alchemy and magic, though I suppose that's a religion of its own, this caput mortuum, this nigretto, it is also very important to black magic, to necromancy, especially to ancient alchemists, the Egyptians, early Greeks, etc. Necromancy, of course, is magic involving raising the dead and summoning spirits. The ancient Greeks were especially into this. Well, I mean, it was still a taboo, and anyone caught doing it would be executed, but a few of them still did it a lot. Anyway, quick refresher, Team Skull, alchemical skull, raising the dead, Eclipse helps with doing that. Especially considering that Lunala is a ghost type, and Thoth, the Egyptian scribe of the underworld, is also the god of the moon. And all of the dead have to pass through him, through the moon, to the underworld. Also remember Phoebe, the obviously Hawaiian Elite Four member in Ruby and Sapphire. She was a ghost trainer. Ghosts and spirits have a lot to do with native Hawaiian culture. Polynesian of all kinds, actually.
Jeez. Though, here's a question. Does Alolan Marowak fit into any of this? Remember, in Gen 1, there was the Marowak ghost of Cubone's dead mother. This new Alolan Marowak could easily be a nod to that, being a ghost fire type and all.
I think that's exactly what this is. A nod to Gen 1, at least the ghost typing is. But about that fire typing. Many Polynesian and Melanesian tribes would offer their gods sacrifices by throwing them into a volcano, especially if they thought their gods were angry at them. And how would they know if their gods were angry? Well, if the volcano got rumbly, or if the moon blocked out the sun. Anyway, the skull is part of the leftovers, the remains of something that was alive but is now dead. Perhaps it all comes together is an omen, and we will soon see things that are dead and alive at the same time, especially considering that in a way, that is how one would gain immortality. When you use the Philosopher's Stone to merge your opposites like an eclipse and become both alive and dead, you can no longer die because you're already dead, while being alive. You remove your fate and thus cannot have a fatality. By conjoining the world of the dead with the world of the living, no one would ever have to die again.
That's actually a somewhat noble goal I could see an evil team justifying itself with, especially since those they kill or harm on the way will just be brought back. But what they don't realize is that this would upset the balance and order of everything. And thus, Zygarde, the guardian of the earth and the preserver of balance and order, must take a stand, explaining why Zygarde is playing a big part in Sun and Moon.
And plus, actually, I did leave out one little tidbit about the symbolism of the Guzmania plants. I mentioned how to the Chinese they symbolized confidence, correct? Well, that's confidence with an asterisk. It's being overconfident. Or rather, confident, prideful, full of yourself, yet you have an inferiority complex. Because you know that in the end, you are imperfect. And in the end, you will die. So perhaps, just like the goal to most alchemists, the goal of Team Skull is immortality. And another possibility is perhaps because they're just such a tight-knit family, they might have lost someone at some point and they just want to resurrect them. Who knows? And if my predictions made in this video up here are correct, then Mars Shadow easily has the power to do just that. So, Team Skull, who are very likely foreign to the Alola region, came here to the Alola region in search of the powers of Solgaleo, Lunala, and especially Mars Shadow in order to do just that. Gain immortality.
Oh wow, well in that case, I should go watch that video right now.
Yes, and also if the viewers to this video want more Pokemon content, then they should definitely check out your channel, right here. It is really cool.
Actually, it's pretty hot. Cause you know, fire theme.
You know what? Why are you still in my dream? Ah, well, that's better. I feel like this is foreshadowing something. Sometimes you have the strangest dreams. I think it all came together.
Good for you.